Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 30 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I am the law.
I am Steve.
We are here to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. Want to do a little business first, and then our intent today is we are, as a group, going to Squad Goals, which is a team tournament. It's held in Chicago, and we want to talk through kind of a team building process, not just lists, but how the group has put together their specific lists, the kind of the thought process behind it, and what that looks like. We do have a new Patreon to thank. Logan has joined the neighborhood. He's one of our locals. So, Logan, we really appreciate that. Welcome aboard. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. For anybody else who would like to support us, to help us out, the easiest way to do that is totally free. All you have to do is give us a follow on your podcatcher of choice and give us a rating and a review on Apple, on Spotify, or whatever it might be. You can also, if you'd like to take a step further, you can go to patreon.com/wittybantercast. For as little as $1 a month, you can support us and get some cool benefits while you're at it. So let's dive in. We are you guys, you three are one of the teams that are going. Is this the second year you've gone to Squad Goals? Is that right?
Yeah, this is our second year.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think there's only been 2 squad goals.
Oh, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right. And have you guys gone to any other, I guess for lack of a term, major team tournaments, or is this really enough of a new format that that's not really a thing?
I'm trying to think of like big events that have had team tournaments. There've probably been a few, but kind of rare.
I know we won the one that was down in Kansas City that had there was 30, 40 people there. I don't know how many teams there was.
Yeah, Casey was pulling pretty big numbers for the team tournaments for a little bit there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe just to help set the table for listeners who might not be as familiar with a team tournament format, we should probably explain how that works. David, how does at least this particular team tournament, how is it set up?
So it's set up, you got to have 3 rosters. They can't have any overlapping characters, and they can't have any overlapping crisis. They can overlap tactics cards, but that's just how the nature of tactics cards are now. I think it's too hard to try to make those singleton as well.
Okay. So, and that's what a singleton refers to, is basically can only be one of each character and one of each crisis card.
Yes.
Okay. I know that the World Tournament that is played over in Denmark is like that, except instead of teams of 3, it's teams of 5. Is that right?
Yeah, it's teams of 5. I don't know. I believe the way their format works is you have to use each crisis card once, and then you can start overlapping crisis after that.
Okay, so JP, when you actually go to the tournament, how does it work in terms of who plays who? I mean, obviously there's a team of 3 and then you play another team of 3. How does it work in terms of how you play that, or who gets set up playing who?
I mean, I guess it kind of depends on your composition of your 3 lists. We kind of like having the 3 of us we've played in probably half a dozen team tournaments. We traditionally kind of go with We as in Alex, David, and I have been on a team. We typically have kind of we like to have at least one general type of list that doesn't have like obvious counters. Just have more flexibility in the matchups.
I guess I don't know that I asked the question, Roa. Like mechanically, how does it work at the site? Like, how do they decide which team plays which team as you're at the tournament itself?
I'm guessing it's just the long chains pairing, right? Is that what you're asking?
No,
Well,
he's talking about like who faces who when we get
right.
actually on tables.
Like there's a process where you win initiative. I guess I'm asking to describe like whoever wins initiative gets to pick which team gets to get dropped first. Just to explain that to listeners that maybe have not gone to a team tournament before.
Oh, you're just talking about just the pairings of the games.
Yes, exactly.
So there will be a roll off, and whoever wins the roll gets to pick a table and put a list, an anonymous list down, and then the losing team or the team that lost the roll will put an anonymous list down on a second table, and then the two lists are revealed simultaneously. And then each team will choose a list to go into the list of the other team that was placed down. So that's two lists from each team at that point. And then the third list that wasn't chosen to either be placed on the first table or to be paired into the list that was revealed, those two third lists go into the third table.
You want to talk a little bit just like in real general terms in terms of kind of the thought process or the strategy of how you plan or how you prepare for that?
So I'm
Go
gonna
ahead,
jump in.
David.
So when you get to that process of like deciding whose table, like who's going on what table, like when you have the priority and you can decide, you should look at the tables and see which teams are like, if you have a team, say you have a roster that's like weak to getting a lot of, like if they get a lot of size fours thrown into them, or they don't have a lot of characters that can navigate across the table like that, or say there's like one of the tables has a giant size 5 in the middle of the table and one of your teams is like a shooty team or something.
David, we're talking about squad goals. Every table has a size 5 terrain. Duh.
Yeah, I mean that is, but in general, I'm just saying you should look at the tables and kind of decide where you think a team might be good or where they might like especially if you're playing something like, say one of your teams is Brotherhood, right? And with Magneto, well, you want to be on the table that has all the size 4s on it, right? Because you want to be able to throw those. So it's just something to think about, right?
Okay. So what does I guess maybe have each of you guys talk about let's talk about what lists you guys are bringing. Alex, who are you bringing? You want to kind of go through your list and your crisis and your tactics cards real quick?
Yeah. So I am bringing Apocalypse. List starts with obviously Apocalypse. I've got Colossus, Psylocke, Wolverine, Magic, Blob, Deadpool, Beast, uh, Toad, and Bullseye. And my tactics cards are Immortal Servants, Recalibration Matrix, Journey Through Limbo, Weapon X Program, Fastball Special. Pulling up my list right now. I'm sorry. Survival Sacrifice, Warpath, Brace for Impact, and the first one. And the crises that I'm going with are Mutant Madman, Guardians Save Shi'ar Empress in Style, McCarran Crystal, Terrigen Canisters, Unexpected Guest Crash, Royal Wedding, and Scientific Samples.
Okay. David, what's your list look like?
So obviously, I had to play Shield, right? Because it's Shield. So I've got
There's your
Zemo,
shot, ladies and
Namor,
gentlemen.
Fury, Spectacular, Hawkeye, Lady Sif, Invincible Iron Man, Black Widow, Agent Venom, She-Hulk, Brace for Impact, Battlefield Medicine, Eye in the Sky, I'm Baron, Invaders, Shield Mobile, Sit Rep, Sacrifice, Helios Laser, and Defensive Prototype. And my Crisis are Deadly Meteors, Deadline to Destruction, Infinity Formula, Hammers, Montesi Formula, and Inhumans deploy advanced weaponry. So I think one of the things I had been thinking about prior to going was that I feel like there's just going to be a lot of Kingpin. I think that's going to be something the teams are going to bring. So I feel like covering the bases with most of the pay to flips is good for us as a team. I mean,
And let me have JP go over his list real quick, and then I think it's a good idea to kind of think about like list composition or how you approach that differently than you would a standard tournament. JP, what are you bringing?
I'm bringing Avengers, a Steve build. So it's got Steve, the Hulkster, Sam, Shang-Chi, Black Panther, Luke Cage, Ghost Spider, Okoye, Miles Morales, and Mighty Thor. And I've got Avengers Assemble, Brace, Patch Up, Heroes for Hire, Chi Mastery, Wisdom of the Ancestors, Recalibration Matrix, Bird of Prey, Reserve Members, and Second Wind. And my crises are Scoundrels, Wedding Party, Riots, Senators, Scrolls, and Spider Infected.
So let's go back to what you were talking about, David, in terms of what you're kind of expecting to see and how to tweak your list accordingly. Where in sort of the creation of each of your lists does the thought about handling what you're expecting to see come into the analysis?
well, I mean, going in, right, you got to know that majority of the crises are going to be played, right? Like there's only 3 extracts to go from 3 skiers. Is that right?
Yeah, there'll be 3 of each, I believe, sitting out.
So you got to be able to try to cover all those bases, right? So choosing teams that can play different, like JP going Avengers, right? And playing with like the more scorier stuff. And then like Alex going more like mid range to kind of scory. And then me going more onto the attrition side. So that like covers us out, right? And so we're not like fighting over who's taking what crisis, right? I think that's one of the first mindsets you got to have in a team event is that there's going to be some like give and take because like, for instance, I like playing Mcron with Shield. I think it's a super good crisis for Shield, but Alex and Apocalypse is going to be probably better at that. So that's why he got it instead of me. And so then I just took Infinity, right? So you have to be able to be flexible with what crisis choices you want within the teams that you're trying to bring.
What kind of has worked for us is usually David and Alex will pick a team each that they like, and I'll come in and figure out like a third team. Because you can usually run 2 teams that have very little overlap. It's when you start adding the 3rd team that it starts getting a little weird. So this year, well, actually, shit. David ran Shield last year, and I ran Avengers last year. So we're not changing it too much, but
Yeah, I'm the only one that's really changing.
Yeah, and you're still covering the pay to flips with APOC. Last year you did it with X-Men or X-Force, right?
Yep.
Was it X-Men X-Force or just X-Force?
It was
I think
just
X-Force, right?
X-Force.
Yeah. So, that's usually kind of how we approach it. Is they'll pick up a team, and then I will come in and try to like figure out what's left and what the best possible list I can come up with from the remaining pieces. And usually Avengers is just good at doing that, so that's kind of why I usually end up playing Avengers at team tournaments, because they can kind of wear a lot of hats. So, the APOC is kind of cool too, because he runs just a bunch of shitty characters. So, with the exception of Toad, nobody really wants anything out of that anyway. So that's pretty much like a free pass on the list. But last year they didn't have singleton crises. So like last year all 3 of our lists ran researcher. But this year they're doing singleton crises, so you do have to think about it a lot more. We were used to that format before squad goals, so we had always kind of built our lists with singleton crises. So that wasn't it's not something new for us, but we just got used to developing our lists with singleton everything. We were playing singleton tactics cards too, with that in mind. So,
No, we didn't do singleton tactics cards because we all had brace.
When?
No, not last year, but like
I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. Don't listen to me. I mixed it up with last year.
That's all
my
good.
brain was like 2 sentences behind.
All good.
Yeah, the previous tournaments that we had done in team format were all singleton on all of everything.
Yeah. So like the squad goals rules for roster constructions are a lot more lax than what we were playing with historically, so it's kind of whatever. Like it's easy to adjust to that.
Is there another way to kind of think about team construction other than kind of let's make sure we have one scory team, one affiliation team, and one kind of mid-range team, or is that too simplistic and reductive to think about it that way?
Well, with the singleton crises, I think you have to kind of think of it that way a little bit. There's a little more flexibility than just that. Like you could have like 2 aggro teams or 2 scory teams. Probably like they're not going to be obviously like some aggro is different. Like some wants to like keep a little bit more of range, some wants to bang on the midline. But like there's going to be, if you're taking 2 like hyper aggro or 2 hyper scory teams, there's going to be some compromise on the crises. It's just going to happen. So I mean, if you really think it's going to give you an advantage to go double, then go for it. But you're going to be making some sacrifices in the crises. Like the scory team, like okay, so Scoundrels gets picked, Riots gets picked. Like what do you have left? Like you got Black Order Descends. Like in our case, like David wanted to run Infinity, and he's Achille team. So like there's like if you were running like Achille team that wanted Infinity, then there's even more of an issue with if you have like two scenario teams, because Infinity is a good scenario team secure too. So I don't know. I guess you could do it. There's nothing wrong with it. We just typically want to maximize our secure and extract picks.
Well, the other problem with doing, like, if you were, say, to do 2 fighting teams in or two scoring teams is that like teams are gonna have an easier out into you because obviously somebody's got to get put down, right? Somebody's got to be the one that goes down first. So whoever pairs with them is probably going to try to pick their most advantageous team into that. So if you've got two scoring teams, right? Like you're probably going to put one of those down and they're probably going to have like a weakness.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting because I think webs are kind of. I think Kingpin's very good too, especially in the team format because he can cherry pick a matchup better than just kind of getting hard countered by certain things like in a normal tournament. And then there's webs who are probably just the best scenario team in general, but I think I don't know. There's some like meta staples now that give webs kind of give webs issues. So like I don't think you can just windmill slam webs as the offer. They're just gonna get. They're probably gonna get picked apart by something. Like I think there's probably gonna be, like I was saying earlier, like Apocalypse. There's very little contention with his character picks. So I think APOC and the fact that he's just good right now. I think we're gonna see a lot of APOC at the tournament. So I know webs are having problems with APOC right now. So if he's everywhere, like you can't afford to just offer webs, and like offering Kingpin is weird too, right? Like I don't know, Hellfire's kind of dead. I don't know what scenario teams like hyper scenario. I think it's just like it would be webs and Kingpin, right? Like maybe like a weird Inhumans build that's trying to just jank with some stuff, maybe with like Quicksilver or something.
You could do an X-Men team.
Yeah, X-Men too. That's true.
Scored
That's
too.
fair. Yeah.
You've been playing Apocalypse for a while now. How did you have to kind of tweak what you were playing to make it fit within the kind of the team structure?
Mine was actually super easy. I gave JP scrolls. That was it.
Yeah, that's the advantage of doing it the way we do it, because it's like I'm trying to figure out what the best team is to not step on the least amount of toes, right? So there'll be some things where I'll be like, "Hey, can I get that?" And then they'll compromise and take something that's like a little less good for them. But I don't think I got anything from David, did I? I had gone through a few iterations of lists, not just Avengers, but I was looking at Midnight Suns and Guardians. So I was for some of those lists, I was contemplating taking like hammers from David, but I don't think I ended up taking anything from him. So it was literally just one extract from Alex, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, like all the new crises that are in my list, I was already wanting to play them in this list to begin with, so it just worked out very well.
Well, and it happened to be stuff that like Terrigen canisters, right? Like me nor JP want anything to do with Terrigen canisters.
Yeah, that one's definitely a pain in the ass for you guys.
Did the new Crisis Pack? How did the new Crisis Pack sort of change how you put together and coordinated your different teams?
Well, I mean, it took out the fact that Alex is running APOC made it so that, I mean, like I was saying, APOC doesn't step on many toes, and he just got better pay to flips with the new pack. Like we lost Sword, which APOC didn't really want to run because of 15, because his team sucks at 15. So, and spider portals was just fuck spider portals. So we lost those two, and we got 2 good pay to flips. So it's like, okay, sure. APOC's an awesome pick. And then we got, like, David's got his 18 extract plan that we had talked about on a previous episode. That's still intact for the team tournament. And that was bolstered by weapons. Is that what it is? Inhuman weapons?
Yeah, inhuman weapons.
Yeah. So,
Well, I mean,
cool.
something had to come in because researcher is gone. So
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Am I running any new stuff? No. All my stuff is old school stuff. Oh, no. I got a wedding party. That's a cool one, actually. Because my list is very displacement tempo centered. So being able to score 2 on each secure is really good for me, especially round 1.
yeah, and you don't care about getting power ninja from you at the top of the next, or like at the end of the round, because you already have enough power to do your stuff anyway from Steve's leadership.
Yeah, everyone's pretty much just ready to start superpowering at the top of round 1, so they don't really care if they're going in round 2 with 0 power, because they're just going to gain a power and be able to superpower.
David, I know that your shield list has kind of been something you've been playing for a while too. Did you have to make many alterations from kind of what you'd been basically playing to bring it along into a team roster?
Well, Alex had been wanting Bullseye, and Bullseye is fantastic in Apocalypse, and I like that for like situations where you want to run a character that isn't necessarily affiliated. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just take Widow instead, because with Widow, at least it means that I can run like Sif and Zemo at 17, which I couldn't do before. I'd have to have an affiliated too. So just going back down, which, I mean, Widow's fine. She does the thing. She's not the most amazing tutor, but she does what she needs to do.
And then JP, it sounds like. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I had to give up Mcron, but that's fine. I can adjust to Infinity. I like the extra power from Infinity because I plan on bringing Tony, and like powering up in a Helios with the Infinity formulas is pretty good.
JP, is the list that you're bringing, is that anything that you had been playing, or is that something you just kind of put together, seeing what Alex and David were playing and kind of working from there?
I had been jamming Guardians for a while there, and then like after Nova and Yondu came out, I was pretty hyped on Guardians, so I was giving them my full attention for, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. And then, we started talking about squad goals, so I got to I had to get focused on that. I mean, we were like a month and a half out or something, but I was starting to get the juices flowing, and I have my like pet affiliations, so I was still considering Guardians because I had been playing them and I had reps, but I didn't quite. I mean, they're good. I don't know if they're like top of the heap kind of thing. So I wanted to look at other things. I thought my next choice was maybe Midnight Suns, just for the iHulk, because iHulk is an interesting piece in the team format. Some lists just don't have an answer for something like an iHulk, so I thought he might be kind of a cool consideration. And Midnight Suns are just really good right now anyway. So I was jamming Midnight Suns for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I can't remember exactly what made me switch to Avengers ultimately, but they were still, I mean, Avengers were on the burner. They were definitely still in my mind the whole time. But I just ended up going with the Avengers, but I like all 3 of those teams. I'm rambling. I don't even remember what your question was, Patrick. Sorry.
Just how you ended up kind of landing on the team that you picked, and it kind of sounds like it was just. Is it fair to say that you were kind of what your team selection was? Kind of was just making sure that Alex and David's team could be together with minimal disruption and working from there.
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's not like I had to pick a bad team to do it. It was just like what can I how can I optimize the remaining pieces the most? And there there's more than one way to skin a cat. I think my Midnight Suns list was good too. First, I don't remember exactly why I ended up going Avengers. I really like Steve. Steve is like maybe my favorite leader. He's so fun. And like they're just kind of a comfort affiliation for me too. And I think I've taken Avengers in like the majority of our team tournaments. I think I've like taken Guardians a couple times, but Avengers is definitely probably my most taken. So,
I think you've taken Avengers to every team tournament we've been to.
No, I took Guardians for sure.
Was it the
yeah,
second one in
to KC?
KC?
I took Guardians to KC a couple times, I think.
Well, we've only been to 2 KC team tournaments.
Okay.
Oh
Maybe
no,
it was
there's
just once then.
I forgot about Show Me, so we've been to 3 of them. Okay, never mind. Then yeah, I think it's been 2.
Okay, so one of them I had Midnight Suns in that team tournament at Show Me, so I've played at the 3 KC tournaments. I played Midnight Suns once, Avengers once, and Guardians once.
Okay.
So when you're putting your teams together, or when you were putting your teams together in this circumstance, how much did you, as a group, put energy into thinking through? Okay, who's going to be the offer? Who's going to be the one that we would put down first?
Does anyone else want to answer?
So last year we tried having JP go down as the offer most of our games, and
that was with Steve Enders too.
And there were a couple times you got countered pretty hard, right?
Well, I just kept eating all so my Steve list was a lot of high scenario play, but I also had Researcher as kind of a hedge. But since we were all running Researcher, it wasn't really like a tool for dissuasion, because no matter who they put their scenario team into, they had a chance of like 1 out of 3ing it, or 1 out of 6ing it, I guess. So I just got offered, and I just kept eating like all the scenario teams. I think I played 3 Web Warriors, 1 Kingpin, and then a Xavier X-Men. So, and I mean, I beat 2 of the Web Warriors. I lost to a Web Warrior and Kingpin in pretty close games, and then I beat the Charles team. So it wasn't like I was getting flogged, but I mean, I don't know if an offer should. I mean, in a vacuum, like how well should an offer perform? Maybe 3-2 or 2-3, something like that. Probably like. I mean, you got to assume that the other team has an advantage against them. So, but I don't think, like with Apocalypse floating around now, My team just has a lot of weakness to mystic attacks, so I'm not really comfortable being an offer now with Steve. And I don't know, like Midnight Suns has some nasty stuff too with mystic attacks. Not as bad, but I think Midnight Suns and APOC are going to be pretty popular there, and I would assume that they would try to take advantage of some of my mystic weakness. So
Yeah, so we figured this time we would just put me down because it's less clear. I mean, you can like I guess my roster's more well-rounded. So like if you're going to put up a team that's specifically like designed to do a thing, you got to be careful about putting them up as an offer because it means they're going to get hard countered pretty easily. So it's easier if you can have a team that's like harder to identify what to put into it.
So in other words, does that mean like a team that could kind of pivot and go either direction, or just a team that doesn't have an obvious hard counter to it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? Like I can play scory, like I can play against the scory teams because I have like Agent Venom and I have like Namor and I have a bunch of these characters that can chase down scory guys, right? And then I also like had the thought process of like maybe I should be taking She-Hulk here just in case somebody tries to drop uh somebody that is going to be tall and wants to take advantage of priority and be able to like just dumpster characters. Well, She-Hulk's good into kaijus, so I mean, like that's where my thought process is there. So I have enough little bit of wiggle room to decide. Like it's hard to know what to put into me because it's like, okay, do you put Midnight Suns into me because now you have like I mean, She-Hulk can like just put a bunch of strong dice builders into I-Hulk and throw him away, right? Like, and I have defensive prototypes, so he can't throw me for a round. So like, those things are things to consider. Plus, if we have rosters that are more like, for instance, like with JP's roster, like since he's going more scory, we can try to get him a more advantageous matchup. If that makes sense.
Sure. So how does let's ask another kind of a maybe a little bit of a broader question. How does the death of the EMAPs, the death of the fight down Main Street, how do you think that's going to change how team tournaments play?
Well, I mean, previously there were teams that just were like fucking terrible on ease, like Webs. So
Mhm.
like now that Webs don't have to think about facing a team like that, you can kind of it gives us the assumption that Webs are probably going to be played right in this format.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about that too because the and like even other affiliations that weren't webs like well Hellfire clubs are relevant at this point because they don't exist anymore. But like other teams that were bad at ease, but then there's like other affiliations like X-Men didn't really like ease that much either. So with those going away, the I definitely see the scoring teams coming out way more often. And like you said earlier, Kingpin's definitely going to show up with those gone too.
Yeah, because Kingpin really hated demons.
he did, but he could still win on it. Like he brings like a like a 5 scoring extract, and it's still 8 points on the board.
Mm-hmm.
He can just square out really quickly. incinerates better the longer the game goes, and I mean if he can cap two of the secures and like two to three of the extracts. I mean, there is a chance that the incinerate bites him, but I've got my ass kicked by Kingpin on demons. So speaking from experience.
So how are you guys with the team that you're bringing now? What are you anticipating? How are you kind of seeing how this the tournament's going to go down?
Well, like JP was saying, I agree that I think Apocalypse is going to be around, right? So like you kind of have to consider what you feel like the top teams are going to be, and then somebody's going to play one of those teams in their actual team composition, right? Like I mean, Apocalypse is pretty good, and he's pretty good for this format, so people are going to bring him. So like that's something to think about.
Yeah, we were trying to think of a way. Like we were trying to think of a solution for teams with Apocalypse, because I don't really want to play into Apocalypse, and I don't know if Alex does. It's weird. Like APOC mirrors in general are weird, but APOC mirrors are super fucking weird. And then David would be fine with it probably. But if David's the offer, they're not going to put APOC into him. They're probably going to be looking to possibly pair APOC into me. Because I think generally people probably don't want to play an APOC mirror. So we were thinking for that maybe we offer Alex, barring them not having certain lists that might be considered hard counters to APOC. Like if they have a Kingpin and an APOC, the Kingpin match is weird for Alex too, because if he wins the Prio flip, it's just a normal. Well, it's not even a normal game. He's probably favored because they're on pay to flips, and Kingpin leadership is kind of butthole. But if he loses, then APOC has very little displacement to try to control Kingpin's pieces. So it's basically like not completely, but it's kind of won or lost on the die roll at the very beginning of the game, which is really kind of shitty. But
yeah, I've beaten Kingpin with Apocalypse, so you're right. It's not impossible, and like I'm honestly would never
beaten
be
Kingpin
upset if
on
I
his-
went into him.
have you beaten Kingpin on his secures?
Yes.
Okay. So we were thinking if they have like APOC on their roster, we offer Alex, so that we're assuming that they wouldn't put APOC in APOC, because why? They have like a better matchup into me. So then I would probably go into their offer, and then David would take. Then that way we could engineer David going into Apocalypse, possibly, if they paired the way we anticipate they would pair.
Which is fine with me because I've got like She-Hulk, and I've got Battlefield Medicine, and I've got like Namor. Like Namor just mulches Colossus, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Alex getting paired into APOC isn't the end of the world, but I know as an APOC player, I would rather not play an APOC mirror. But
Yeah, it's just boring.
I mean, it is what it is. It's not boring. It's just there's a lot going on in an APOC mirror.
No, I thought it was boring. Like in terms of like what the game could end up being. You know what I mean? Like it. But then again, you and I play basically the same APOC list, so
Yeah, I don't know. I think I think the way APOC lists are kind of engineered, I think it would be a lot of literal mirror matches. Because I think the general consensus for APOC is like 17 threat, so there is definitely an optimized 17 threat squad for the scenarios that APOC plays. So I would anticipate a lot of like probably four to five characters being the same out of five. I guess Alex has like bullseye, so if it goes into more threat, but I think all your extracts are 17, and I'm trying to think of your
Yeah.
secures.
My secures are 17, 18, 19, I think.
Okay, so at 19 could go down that road.
Yeah, they're 17, 18, 19.
Yeah. So I mean, it's probably just ends up being a strict mirror match, which is, I guess, it's fine. It's just
Those kind of matches get like kind of, I don't want to say coin flippy, but they just kind of get just obnoxious.
well, you got so much. There's so many moving parts with APOC, and you have two APOCs on the board. It just gets crazy.
Yeah.
Like 20 million condition tokens on the board.
So, did you practice any differently or prepare any differently than just kind of taking your, getting settled in on your squad goals rosters and then getting reps into those particular rosters? Was the preparation as simple as that, or did you do any other specific preparations for the team tournament?
It's
I
kind
mean,
of
we
hard to
mostly just played our rosters, right, just to get reps in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard to simulate a team tournament for practice. Like you can do it, but it takes effort, and we just didn't put in the effort. So
Once the games start, do you guys feel like they play any differently than you would if you were playing just an individual tournament?
I mean, no, like once you get on the table, it's just like any other tournament game, right?
yeah, I mean, once you get going, it's whatever.
So what all are you guys expecting to see at this tournament? You talked a little bit about how you're expecting to see Kingpin and you're expecting to see Apocalypse. Anything else that you're really thinking about in terms of, okay, this is probably how this thing's going to go down?
So, one of the interesting things I think about team tournaments is because each roster is forced to bring separate characters and separate crisis, you're gonna find there's gonna be teams that are gonna have rosters that you're like, I've never really seen that before, because they're just like playing what's left over from their other teammates. So like I mean, I know we'll encounter all of the meta stuff, like somebody on everybody's team is probably going to bring Shang-Chi, somebody's going to bring Namor, somebody's going to bring probably like a Hulk, or the meta characters are going to get played across the whole team. But the nice thing is that you can isolate it, so you can be like, well, I don't really feel comfortable facing, Namor or something. Then you'd be like, well, we can try to engineer it so you're not playing Namor.
And do you guys kind of have that in your mind in terms of who your most advantageous matchups are and who your least advantageous matchups are?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that. Like, quite a bit, especially me and JP. We've been talking about like just all kinds of like again, like I'm expecting to see Kingpin. I'm expecting to see. I mean, Inhumans. I think will be there. Obviously, people are going to be playing A-Force probably since DeLuca won with A-Force, so probably somebody's going to play that.
This is not a knock on DeLuca winning with A-Force, but like DeLuca winning with A-Force doesn't prove that A-Force is good, and people are totally wrapping their heads around that. I'm not saying they're terrible, but like DeLuca's a very good player, so he's gonna make him good. It has nothing to do with A-Force being so fantastic, and I just don't understand why people are hopping on that so quickly.
Well, I mean, people are going to follow. Like they're going to be like, "Oh, well,
They
DeLuca won
are.
with this," so somebody's going to do it, right?
I think
Yeah.
there's way more nuance to that than what you're saying, though. DeLuca had an Avengers A-Force list, so what did he play? 5 of the 11 games were A-Force, David? Something like that?
Yeah, I think
Didn't you-
five were A-Force and 6 were Avengers. I don't think he didn't play Asgard at all in any of his games.
So obviously he played Avengers slightly more than A-Force, but I can only assume that he was picking A-Force when he felt that A-Force was advantaged into the match. So being that over half of the games he didn't play A-Force means that he didn't feel like they were advantaged in the match, or the Avengers were more advantaged in the match. If you're taking a strict A-Force list with no alternate affiliation pivot, it's a completely different animal than taking a dual or like a triple list. Like I think he had the possibility to take Asgard too. Like the fact that you can just decide, like, oh, well, I'm gonna go She-Hulk this game because I think it's good, rather than like I have to take She-Hulk every game and I might just run into something that beats my ass. There's definitely some nuance there.
Mm-hmm.
Was a list like that where you're triple affiliated and you can go a whole bunch of different ways. Is that a list that maybe is more advantageous in a team tournament format just because it's so flexible to be able to kind of handle anything that gets thrown at you?
Well, the problem with something like DeLuca's roster in a team tournament is, I mean, he's going to be you'd be stepping on a lot of toes, right? Because that roster's got like Okoye in it. It's got like Bill in it. It's got, it's got Shang-Chi in it. It's got all these characters that are like just good in the meta, like Black Cat and stuff. So it would be very hard on your teammates to build a roster around that.
That makes sense.
Black Cat's a tough one because assuming you're taking, I mean, that's kind of really hamstringing two of the best scenario teams. I feel like they're two of the best. But, I mean, I think it's not a hot take. Like Webs, she's affiliated with Webs and Criminal Syndicate, so that's tough. Yeah, like you could still work. I think you could still work around his list, but the more like you try to like cherry pick and build from multiple angles with multiple affiliations, the more chance, like David was saying, that you have of stepping on toes. I think you could build around that, though. You could look at it and be like, well, I mean, for instance, I mean, this is kind of almost a cop-out, but okay, well, our second guy's taking Apocalypse, so he doesn't need any of those. And the third guy could build something. I mean, you'd have to look at what's left, but you could figure it out, I think. The big offender was Hellfire. That list is it was so greedy. Just like, I'm taking all the best shit.
Yeah, I just could not imagine putting together a team tournament like list like that with Hellfire. Oh, it's
No.
just such a pain.
100%.
Well, now they suck, so we don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, they're the Brotherhood rejects with Storm.
At least until DeLuca wins a major tournament with them.
Right.
So,
But yeah, I suspect they'll be. I mean, the meta teams and the meta characters are gonna be there, right? Like, there's gonna be, somebody. Like I said, somebody's gonna be playing Namor, so they're probably gonna be playing Defenders or Shield or wherever they fit. Namor being good, and somebody's gonna play Chi, and wherever he fits, whether it's Avengers or just as a splash.
Or Defenders.
Yeah, or Defenders.
Yeah, I'm anticipating APOC, Midnight Suns, Webs, Kingpin. Probably Avengers are going to show up a lot. Those are probably my top 5 off the top of my head. Maybe I'm missing
Yeah,
something.
I think Defenders, like if it's not Avengers, it would be Defenders.
Yeah, Defenders would be definitely in my top 10 anticipated teams for sure.
Yeah, I think that like your list is very similar to mine. I think Defenders hits like number 6 for me.
I do think that there's gonna be some like just off the wall shit. Like, I know for a fact that people are bringing there's people bringing Spider Foes, and I know somebody's gonna bring competition.
There's always those weirdos who bring Spire Foes. I don't know why. It just is the way it is. Forever and ever.
there are people who are just really committed to the Spider Foes bit. And I think it's just those are the characters they really, really like.
That's 100%.
But yeah, I know I'm very sure somebody's gonna bring like a convo roster, and there's gonna be I imagine that there's gonna be very few unrepresented teams. Like, it's probably just gonna be like Sentinels and like fuck, I don't even know. Inhumans, I guess.
Yeah, I bet there's at least one Dark Dimension list.
Yeah, maybe somebody will bring a Dormammu list, but Dormammu gets weird because everybody's a splash character, so like I don't know. But somebody probably will bring him.
So, so we're recording this a few days before we actually head out for the tournament. Are there any kind of now that the lists are in, are there any kind of last minute preparations that you're doing, or now that you can, I don't know, has it been released so we can see what everybody else's lists are?
Not yet. I think they're still going over the lists to make sure
Oh.
everything's okay.
So once those get released, once we it's kind of up and running and everybody sees what everybody else's lists are, how important is scouting the other teams that you're going to play, do you think? Or how much scouting do you guys do? How much thinking through the other teams as they're constructed are going to see it?
Well, I know I'm going to be looking at them a little closer so I don't get sleeper agent like last year.
Hey, the advantage for that is we're all going to be in the same space for when
This is true.
like where we're staying. So we'll be able to have those conversations. Because I know me and JP last year talked about the sleeper agent play, but we forgot to mention that to Alex.
Whoops.
Yeah, I think I have more trauma from a sleeper agent Eye Hulk than I have from Midnight Sun Eye Hulks.
Well, To be fair, me and JP talked about that when we were pretty fucking high.
I'm gonna be looking at certain names. Like I'm not gonna
there's going to be
I'm not gonna look at everybody's stuff, but there will be certain teams I'm looking at.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be sharks, right?
Yeah, there's probably I'll probably look at half a dozen teams, something like that. I don't know exactly, but
when you do, what will you be looking for? What's going to be going through your mind when you're looking through those teams?
just matchups, like what we're good and bad into. It's MCP's kind of weird because I don't feel like it's not as rock paper scissors as a lot of other games. So there's subtle things and little nuances that might give you an advantage. Sometimes it's way more obvious. Like this Steve list I'm running, it's like 8 out of the 10 characters I have are weakest in the Mystic. Seven of them have superpowers that are turned off by Mystic attacks. So obviously good Mystic attackers are kind of a hard counter into me. It puts me on way faster of a clock because my guys are dying way quicker. So I'll probably be looking for teams that have rosters with a lot of Mystic attacks, and I'll probably be looking for Kingpin because he's kind of. I think we have more of a plan into webs than Kingpin. Not that we don't have a plan into Kingpin, but we kind of don't. Webs are just like David has Agent Venom, and Alex has APOC and Magic, so they.
Well, I'm just playing APOC. I don't think Web Warriors like his list at all.
No, but I mean, Magic is. And, well, you don't have Psylocke, but Magic is just.
Yeah, I do. Yep, I've got
You do?
Psylocke.
Okay. So you have 3 Mystic attackers that are all very deadly. So I don't think webs are as much of an issue for us as, say, a Kingpin.
Yeah.
I'll be looking for more of the skewed things. Like, there's obviously going to be just good lists, but I'll probably be looking for more skew stuff. Like, if it's a mid-range team, it's whatever. Like, okay. Not that none of it's bad, but there's less skew on that than, say, someone who's trying to go taller than you all the time, or someone who's counting as 2 on secures. Like, that's just way more skewed. So
when you're saying skew, JP, do you mean like someone who's got a very specific game plan in terms of something they want to do and to accomplish in the game?
yeah. So, and I mean, you can skew it harder in a team tournament too, because you can dodge your bad matchups, right? So you can really engineer favorable matchups for yourself, and push. You can push your weaknesses harder, I guess, without being punished for it.
How about you, David? When
I had something there, but hold on.
Yeah.
So like the issue with, like, say, Kingpin specifically, right? Well, we know that Kingpin is bad into paid flips, right? Because that's just like shuts off half of his leadership, the good half of his leadership. I mean, not the other half is bad or anything, but it gets way less used than the first half of his leadership. So, like, Alex is running all pay to flips, and I'm running one of them. Am I running one? Running one in Infinity and Meteors, which Meteors is bad for Kingpin, and the other one is Deadline.
Fine.
Which Deadline is whatever in the Kingpin. I don't think he's I don't necessarily think he's advantaged into it, but he's not disadvantaged into it, right? So basically, we've got two rosters that aren't giving Kingpin a huge advantage, sort of. I guess with Alex, it kind of matters on the if he wins the priority roll or not. But
And
having the ability to force our opposing team to think about who they're playing down into each other is like good on our end, right? Because if they have more decision choices, maybe they make the wrong one.
yeah, like David's list, his shtick is setting up a bunch of rerolls in a bubble. And there aren't really teams that counter that. You have certain models that kind of do, like Agent Venom or Venom, I guess, stuff like that, that don't allow you to modify your defense. And then you have characters like Cat or like Black Panther, like Bast Panther, where you can't modify your offensive dice into them. But there aren't like whole teams that are just looking like, or that have a huge advantage into a reroll team, because there's not that many pieces like that, and they're kind of spread across affiliations, and they don't really go together in a list. Like, you wouldn't put Bast in the same list as like Agent Venom or Venom or something. It'd just be weird. So it's not like there's lists running around that are just hard countering David's list. And then like APOC, I don't know, maybe I mean, APOC is weak. He doesn't have good displacement, so maybe Kingpin. I don't know. Like, we don't have anybody playing Kingpin locally, so I haven't gotten a lot of reps into him. But maybe Kingpin's good in APOC, just because APOC can't displace him, and he just scores too fast if they land on the non-pay to flips. I don't know. I don't feel like APOC has... I guess APOC did have issues with like kaijus that could go taller and just pick on APOC, but they've just nerfed all the kaijus. I don't know if there's any lists really going super tall. I guess APOC optimally wants to run it 5 wide though, so maybe a beatdown list with 4 wide, with like some good, like a kaiju and like some good beaters that are still taller than APOC can take advantage of it. Maybe that's a weakness.
Yeah, but even Kingpin, right? Like, once you, like, APOC puts out, like, the conditions are just like, some of the conditions APOC can put are just like ridiculously good into APOC, like, or into Kingpin, like Root. Like, Root is like, Kingpin doesn't want any part of Root, right? Spending that extra power to reduce damage is rough. And they can give out slow and stuff too. So, like, putting slow on like Cat, like,
Yeah,
I think it could be okay.
the thing is APOC doesn't really run well. I don't think the good APOC lists run hyper attrition secures and extracts. So if Kingpin lands on his secures and then lands on pretty much any of APOC's extracts, they're probably going to be at least 8 points on the board. Kingpin can score pretty quick. Like, he's probably going up 3-1 on secures, and then so he's going to be scoring 5 round 1. It's just the clock is very short, I think.
Yeah, it really depends on if, like, the APOC player can start flipping models. Like if you can start days and stuff in it.
Which
it's
is
always
tough
gonna get easy.
because Kingpin's traditionally kind of a tough team. And outside of APOC, well, I guess you can bring some stuff that kills, but man, just banking on dice to try to kill Kingpin before he outscores you just feels really bad to me. I kind of hate it.
So
Like you bring what, like Wolverine and Magic? I don't know.
I guess like Psylocke, right?
Maybe. Like,
So in this kind of a format, it would seeing a Kingpin in that circumstance, would that be part of your thought process to try to push someone that has more pay to flips into a matchup with Kingpin? Is that part of the strategy that you'd be looking at?
I don't know. That's weird because Alex obviously has all pay to flips. He has the most pay to flips out of all of us by a large margin. David has 1 and I have 0. But if Alex loses the coin flip and Kingpin gets it secures, I think it's really favored Kingpin. Unless Alex just has hot dice and starts knocking people out. But there's zero control. Like you can't out contest Kingpin. You can't just potato against Kingpin. It doesn't work. You have to displace his models with your characters. APOC.
Yeah, my plan,
like
if I end up losing priority against a Kingpin list, Kingpin dies first. He just dies.
Which you could do it.
It's tough. I mean, they're probably playing Kingpin KG. He's going to be one of the farther back points. He still has 7 health and damage reduction. Even against Mystic, he's got 3 dice. It's just, you're still banking on dice, and I don't know. I don't know if you can, like, 1-round Kingpin. Maybe. It could happen, like, dice or dice, right? But you essentially have to do 9 damage to Kingpin with 2 attacks. So, assuming you're not 1-rounding him, you're killing Kingpin in 4 rounds. And in 4 rounds, Kingpin, they can score a lot of points on you in 4 rounds. I don't know. It's weird. I don't hate going into Kingpin. He's probably a better scenario team than me, strictly speaking, but I have a lot of tempo and displacement in my list, so I think I can take Kingpin. Probably, I don't think I'm advantaged into him, but I think I can hold my own against a Kingpin list for sure.
Well, and on my end, right?
David's probably fine into him.
Yeah, Namor just like, oh, excuse me, you don't get to DR Kingpin. Oh, Lizard, you don't get to do it either. Oh, Bill, yeah, you too.
Yeah, Namor kind of eats against Kingpin. Plus, he's got the extract side of it too.
And he's got
all of your extracts you can steal from the opponent. So if they take their secures, you're getting your extracts that you can steal with Namor.
Well, and the other thing too is Namor has that sizeless push on his spender, so like you can like attack into an injured model and then push all the other uninjured models off the point and score it. Which is pretty good.
Yeah, that push is very relevant. It's super annoying, and it's pretty easy for Namor to do. All he needs is 3 power for a spender. He gains 2 a turn. Yeah. It's fine. Like, it's not like a big ask from him. It's a very good option for that spender.
Yeah, and it's automatic, so like you can't.
Yeah, like zero trigger is just, it's so good because it won't fail you when you need it to not fail you.
So it kind of sounds like you sound like you think you're going to see a lot of Midnight Suns, a lot of APOC, a lot of Kingpin. Is there anything else that you're thinking that you're going to see more, and anything specifically that the team tournament format will encourage to see more of?
Shout out to Convo. I think I think there's gonna be a few Convo lists. I'm not saying it's gonna be everybody's gonna be playing Convo, because I don't think that. But because of Convo has a lot of models that other teams don't really use, they kind of get a little bit of pick. So I could see people bringing something like Convo.
If you're keeping track at home, people, that's shot number 2.
I would also say, I mean, there's the possibility of, like, I don't know if somebody's going to bring, say, Sentinels, but I mean, there's going to be people playing probably Wakanda. There's going to be Guardians. There's going to be maybe like Winter Guard.
I think we'll see. The teams, we've already talked about them, but I think the teams for me that the team tournament kind of encourages are Kingpin and the Webs. I mean, they can perform in normal tournaments, but typically you don't see them in big numbers. But being able to dodge their bad matches makes them really, really deadly. So those are the two that I would say. I know it's kind of redundant because we already talked about them, but it is the answer to your question from my perspective, is that those two are going to... I mean, the proportion of Webs and Kingpin players that we see at this tournament is going to be way higher than just an individual player tournament, just because you can dodge bad matches, and
Right.
their good matches are so skewed in their favor.
I think we're going to see one of every affiliation. I think it's going to happen.
You really think somebody's going to play Sentinels?
Probably.
You have no idea how close I came to bringing Sentinels.
There you go. I think it'll happen. I think we will see one of everything. There's
well, so
72 players.
right.
Yeah, that is a lot of people.
So I guess let's just ask, how are you guys feeling? How are are you guys feeling as ready for this as you have for others? Do you feel less ready, more ready, or just kind of what's your vibe getting started?
Namor rerolls feel really fucking good.
Yeah, there's no arguing that point.
Like, that shit is dumb sometimes.
I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this tournament. It's whatever. I feel fine. Like, we've been around. We've played in a decent amount of team tournaments. It's not like a new concept or anything. Just gonna go have a good time and try to play the best games I can. Try to win, but I'm not like making spreadsheets and staying up until the wee hours of the morning, like poring over this shit. It ain't that deep.
I'm
with
just excited
JP.
to play some, like, good players and some good games, right?
Yeah, agreed. I'm just excited overall. I think we're gonna do very well, but it'll just be fun.
Hey, if we make it to the finals against, like, somebody like DeLuca's team or whatever, that's a win, right?
Hell yeah.
There are a lot of very good teams that showed up last year. Or there were a lot of. So I'm assuming, like any MCP tournament, there's going to be, a spectrum of competition. Some people are just coming to have fun. They're more casual, and the whole format is kind of casual anyway, right? Like 3-player teams and stuff. It's not as, by its nature, it's not as competitive, generally speaking. But you will have those teams that are very, very competitive. We're probably, I'd say on the competitive scale, we're probably like, as far as like attitude, we're probably around like a 7-ish. Like what do you guys think? I mean, we take it pretty seriously, but it's not like, I don't know.
I was thinking the same thing. I honestly think we're at a 7, maybe an 8.
There's going to be people who, I mean, at least a couple teams that are like 10, which is fine. Like, whatever. To each their own. And it's not like, I mean, they probably have an advantage having that mindset because they're probably putting in more work for preparation, but I mean, it's whatever. I'm still going with the intention of, I mean, I don't want to say the intention of winning, but that is ultimately my goal when I go to a tournament, is to win it. Like, obviously it's not easy, but I'm still going
I'm
with,
not going to a tournament with the intention to lose.
I mean, some
Well,
people
and
do
if
that, right?
we and if
They're
we
just going
end
to have
up
a good time,
beating
roll dice.
if we end up beating some of those teams that spend like forever like spreadsheeting and shit, then that's when we get to gloat, right?
And that's really what we're all here for.
I'm just excited to hang out for a weekend, play some good games. It's cool to get out of your meta and play really good players. And these big tournaments are kind of the way to do that. Unless your local meta is like super sharky, or you live in a big city where you have a huge player base. We do not. What's our average? Probably like 6 players a night or something.
Something
That
like
sounds,
that, yeah.
that sounds about right.
That's probably the average. I mean, we can pull probably like a dozen locals for a tournament or something, but typically we're looking at like 6 players. The diversity just honestly isn't really there for us. Everybody kind of has the stuff they like to play, and it is what it is. And none of us really play on TTS because, I mean, everyone's got their reasons. I just don't find TTS that appealing. It takes the miniature part of the game out for me, and I play minis. Part of that is to play with minis, not just move around little things on the computer screen. So
I much prefer the social interaction when you're playing a game in person than in TTS.
that's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do play some TTS, and it is fun, but it's nowhere near as much fun as having the tactile sense of the miniatures and having the person that you're playing with right in front of you. That it is a poor substitute. There's no question. So I guess kind of maybe some closing thoughts in terms of sort of what you're thinking about, or what you're feeling, or just thoughts about a team tournament in general for listeners who may not have had a chance to try it yet. David, how about you?
I think if you're one of the things I like to try to look at is if when you have all your rosters in your team put together, I kind of like to go and look at like, okay, what are the models that everybody's playing in the meta, and are we at least playing a few of them, right? Like somebody in your team probably should be playing Shang-Chi. Somebody should be playing Namor. Somebody should be playing these like characters. So I think that when you do that, it creates like you kind of feel like, well, I get to play Namor in my roster. That's cool, right? Because not every roster gets to play Namor. So that's kind of one of the things I like about it.
How about you, JP?
Can you repeat the question?
Just kind of some closing thoughts in terms of either what you're thinking about, or maybe some things to talk about with some of the listeners who haven't played into a team tournament yet.
I mean, it's a fun format. You should give it a shot. It's a different take on MCP. It's pretty cool. I mean, the games end up being like, once you get into the game, it's the same, but like roster construction and pairings and all that is just a cool, kind of unique way to play MCP. You should give it a shot, at least see if you like it. Cause get to. The problem is there's just not a lot of tournaments that do it. Most of them are single player tournaments, so it's hard to find. It's hard to find team tournaments, and it's hard to do at a local level because, like, for instance, what we were just talking about, like, we could probably pull 12 people for a tournament locally. What is that? 4 teams, I guess. Like, that's not a great tournament because, I mean, you could do like a round robin type thing, but you need a lot of players for it. Is the issue? So you probably have to travel for it. But yeah, if you're willing to travel, you got a couple buddies, give it a shot.
How about you, Alex? Any closing thoughts?
I'll have to mirror what David and JP said. Just it's super fun. I was very hesitant on the first one that we did in KC. Not because I didn't think it was going to be fun. It just seemed very restrictive. But after doing it, it's really not as bad as you would think. And even like, especially in this one, like not having to worry about tactics cards being duplicated or not duplicated. I mean, it's even less of a stress factor behind it. And with how many characters are in the game now, I mean, if you're overlapping characters, you're just trying to overlap at that point. Because the first one we went to, that was what, 3 years ago? Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. And I mean, there were probably half as many of the characters back then than there are now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, we will, next time we get together, Webheads, we'll give you a report of how things went and sort of if we've learned anything else. And this is really kind of the first big team tournament that has happened since the new Crisis Pack came out. Is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
But I know of, yeah.
So we'll give you an update and let you know what we found out. If you've got some experience with team tournaments, or if you have some questions about team tournaments, why don't you reach out and let us know, guys. You can find us on all the socials at Witty Bantercast, and you can also email us at wittybantercast@gmail.com. Other than that, thanks for coming along with us. We look forward to talking to you again, and until next time, be good.